Good afternoon, coming to you live from Nasdaq's global headquarters in Lower Manhattan. This is a special Friday afternoon edition of Advisory Live, which is brought to you by Nasdaq Corporate Solutions. I'm your host, Will Briganti, and joining me today is Adam Lazarus, who's probably a familiar face to all of our viewers on Twitter. Adam, good to see you again. Happy Friday.
Same to you.
The last time we were here was May 4th when we were
Yes.
donning our Star Wars equipment. So obviously we're back to different attire today.
A little more professional.
A little bit more professional, but let's get to it. So give our viewers a quick overview on what's happened so far this week in the markets.
Okay, well, just to summarize, we are now having the largest one-day gain for the month of May, and that's on the heels of the largest drop we had back on Wednesday, where we saw the broader markets fall over 1.5%. We've also seen the U.S. dollar has been pulling back continuously, while OPEC is now potentially coming to an agreement and extending their production cuts, which has been sending oil higher, including West Texas hitting above $50 a barrel this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously a lot of different headlines out. We had that pretty tough trading day earlier this week, and things seem to have rebounded.
Yeah, there's been some more political certainty around what's going on in the markets. So the markets like when there's stability. When we have a little destabilizing forces, that's when the market starts to sell off.
All right, Adam, thank you so much. Let's dig into your sector specialty. You're on our industrials team, isn't that right?
Yes, I am.
So what does that mean exactly?
So industrials is pretty broad. It covers a lot of sectors, subsectors, including aerospace and defense, engineering, construction, business services, and transportation. I specialize in transportation companies, which also includes air freight and logistics, marine, railroad, and airlines.
All right, so how have those sectors been doing recently? Obviously, we're sort of at the tail end of the earnings season. Any kind of highlights you'd like to share?
Sure. Well, looking back at earnings, at least for transportation companies, we've seen on the top and bottom lines, they are both above where the S&P 500 is showing for revenue and earnings. They're both in the high 70s. So for earnings, they've done really good. As for airlines, we've also noticed that for the U.S. domicile airlines, they haven't been having much luck in the news lately for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
But for when it comes to earnings, we've seen, at least on the bottom line, only one U.S. domiciled airline was unable to beat earnings, while on the top line, all but two airlines were able to beat earnings. So, but even though we had just one airline miss on earnings per se, they seem to be having a lot more expenses come up, such as we see gas going higher. Mm-hmm. They may have to pay higher wages to their pilots, and those are all hits to their margins and profits, which in reaction we did see the airline sector fall on the earnings day, and they basically looked past how they had done in the previous quarter.
Right, but it'll be interesting to see how those companies rebound as the summer travel season kind of gets underway, right? That usually has a little bit of impact.
Absolutely. A lot is still coming up for the summer. We also have been seeing, unfortunately, in the first quarter, a little dip in passengers coming from the Middle East and Europe on potential geopolitical activities coming from the U.S. with potential travel bans. So we'll have to see what happens when the summer comes along as to if the demand stays as high as it has in previous years.
Great. Adam, well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for giving us some insight onto your sector specialty and a quick recap of the week's events. We look forward to having you back on soon, because obviously the end of May should be busy and into the beginning of the summer season in June.
Absolutely. There's a ton of conferences coming up.
Yeah.
There are a ton of events. So we'll just have to do a wait and see approach.
Definitely. Well, Adam, we'll have you on soon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Adam Lazarus, who's an advisory services analyst with Nasdaq Corporate Solutions, specializing in the industrials group. I'm your host, Will Briganti. Thank you so much for watching a special edition of Nasdaq Advisory Live. You can always check our corporate blog with more information from the advisory services team. That's at business.nasdaq.com. And Adam and the rest of his colleagues are always posting on Twitter. That's over at MyCorpSolutions. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.